Hello Fire Buddies, thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to create a very special episode for the beginner investor. I will be going over all the various types of stock accounts that you can open, the order in which you should open them, and how to get started on your journey towards investing. So I'm just going to dive right in. Basically, the first thing you should be doing is to be saving up for an emergency fund. I don't think you should be starting to invest until you have at least 3 months of your expenses saved up in a savings account. That way, if any bad things arise, you'll be able to extinguish any of those fires that may come up. But if you have your emergency fund set up, you are stable enough that you don't think you are going to be running out of money to buy food or to be able to pay your rent, and you wanted to get to the next step of building your wealth. Very simple. The first one will be your 401k or 403b or 457, which will be represented by the classic Chanel bag over here. So the way that you can think about these stock accounts is the account is just the bag itself. It doesn't hold anything until you put something in it. It's just a shell. So when you have your 401k, what you want to do is, if your employer actually offers a match, you should take full advantage of it. So let's say you have to contribute 4% to get a 4% match. You go ahead and do that. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to assume that the hypothetical person in this scenario earns $100,000 a year. Now, if you don't make $100,000 a year, that's totally okay. You can still invest, but I just want to make the numbers clean and easy for you to be able to understand. So if you're doing 4% with a 4% match, that comes out to about $11 a day. So what you want to do is you're going to invest your $11, and your employer actually will match it with another $11. So what you're going to do is you're going to put it into your account, right? So once you have this in your account, what's going to happen over the next, 20 or 30 years or so is you're going to be putting more and more money into this each day. And at the very end of it, you're going to end up with the same amount of money, because guess what? You didn't invest it. So what you have to do with this money actually is you have to trade it for some sort of stock. I recommend large cap equities. What does this mean? So if you want to invest in a company like Apple or Home Depot or Costco, Walmart, Google, Tesla, when you invest in large cap equities, you will be able to purchase a little slice of every single one of these companies. So you're going to be a part owner in about 500 of the biggest companies in the United States. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your money and you're going to purchase large cap equities. You're going to put that back into your account, okay? And this is going to happen with every single one of your paychecks. So after many, many years, let's say you have contributed for 20 years, it comes out to about $80,000 with an $80,000 match. And what's going to happen is that even though you only invested $80,000, it will grow to $328,000 or up to $458,000. That's assuming a 7 to 10% annual interest rate of return, which has been the case for large cap equities. And if you keep it in there for 30 years, you would have contributed $120,000 and you would have had a $120,000 match. And again, that's for 30 years. And your money would grow to $756,000 all the way up to $1.3 million. And that's assuming a 7 to 10% annual return. Pretty cool, right? So on to the next one. If you've contributed your 4%, you got your 4% match, and you're like, well, that's pretty nice, but is there more I can do? And the answer, of course, is yes. So your next move is going to be the Roth IRA, which will be represented by this bag over here called the boyfriend. So what you're gonna do is, this is actually gonna be the most powerful account that you could possibly have. The reason why it's so powerful is look at the size of this thing, right? It is actually smaller than the 401k bag. There's a reason for that. It's because the Roth dollars are going to be the most valuable dollars that you own. What do I mean by that? All the money that goes into your Roth IRA grows, and you will never be taxed ever again on the gains. When you withdraw money from your 401k, you're going to actually get taxed at income tax levels. But with the Roth IRA, you're never going to get taxed again on the money. So whatever money grows in here, that's how much money you're going to get. So because it's so powerful, the government only limits you to $6,000 a year of contributions, which happens to be about $16 a day. That's all it takes. So what you're going to do is you're going to open the Roth IRA. You can do this through what's called a brokerage, like Fidelity or Schwab or Vanguard. These are the top three that I would recommend for ease of use and stability of the company. So you're going to put your $16. You're going to open up a Roth IRA. You're going to put the money inside. And what you're going to do after you put the money is you're going to use that money to purchase stocks. So this is what I would do. I would put the money into the S&P 500, and that is represented by these symbols right here: VOO, SCHX, or FXAIX. Don't worry too much about these crazy letters. Just these are the options that you can choose. The other option you can choose to buy is something called Total Stock Market Index Fund. And that's represented by VTI, SCHB, or FZROX. So you can use that money and you purchase these representations of various companies in the stock market. And what you're going to do is you're going to set it and forget it. You're going to automate your transfers into this account. You're going to buy these representations of stocks, and you're going to watch your money grow. Now, I think I got a little bit ahead of myself because I forgot to talk about this little thing. This is a representation of all the potential bad debt that you might have. Not everyone has this, but if you have credit card debt or car debt, anything with an interest rate of more than 5%, I actually would not proceed past this stage. So don't put money into your Roth IRA until you get rid of this really dangerous piece of crap that is going to damage your net worth. So pay down your high interest debt as aggressively as possible. Okay. So what's going to happen to your Roth IRA money? So let's take a look. So you've been putting in your $6,000 a year, $500 a month, $16 a day, as we mentioned. And over 20 years, you would have contributed $120,000. And it would have grown to $246,000 to $344,000. Again, assuming a 7 to 10% rate of return. If you happen to leave it in for 30 years, your total contributions would be $180,000, remember $6,000 a year. And it would have grown to $567,000 all the way up to almost $1 million, $987,000. So I think you're gonna get the gist of it here, the power of compound interest. All right, So on to the next one. Let's say you contributed your 4%, you got your 4% match, you have gotten rid of your crazy debt, and you've already maxed out your Roth IRA contribution. What's the next move? The next move is to go back here. You're going to want to increase the contributions to your 401k and maximize that. So how much is that? So for 2022, it's $20,500 a year. And what that amounts to per day is an additional $34. Okay? So you're going to put an additional $34 in here. And remember, we talked about large cap equities. You're going to be using the $34 per day to invest in large cap equities. Same thing. It's already automatic. You would have increased your contributions through your company's website. So that would be about, if you're making $100,000, about a 16% contribution with a 4% match, right? And that comes out to roughly $20,000. Again, the limit is $20,500. So you've maxed this out. What's the next move? Well, let's see how much it would have grown. So if you had maxed out your 401k contributions every single year, for 20 years you would have contributed $330,000, and you would have gotten $80,000 as a match. And look at that, it would have grown to $840,000 all the way up to $1.17 million. If you leave it in for even longer than that, for 30 years you would contribute $495,000, $120,000 match. But here's where it gets insane. It would have grown to 1.9 million all the way up to 3.37 million. Pretty good, right? All right. So let's say you're like, man, that's nice that I'm going to have $3.37 million here, and you told me in the Roth IRA that for 30 years, it's going to end up with almost $1 million bucks. So that's about 4.3 million. That's great. But I don't want to have $4.3 million by the time I'm, 60. I want it faster. I want to become a millionaire as soon as possible. Well, you have one more option, and that will be here. This is another type of stock account. So after you've maxed out your 401k, you've maxed out your Roth IRA, this is called the Chanel 19 bag. And I'm using this to represent what's called a brokerage stock account. A lot of people might know this one as, like, you can open one with Robinhood. I wouldn't recommend that service necessarily. I still have pretty much most of my money in Schwab. But again, you can use Schwab, Vanguard, or Fidelity. And they have this type of account. Again, it's called a brokerage account. So let's say you wanted to become a millionaire much faster. What you would do is, this account is limitless in terms of how much you can contribute and invest. So just for the sake of argument, I've decided to put out here $38 a day into this account. So $38 a day, I'm still going to be investing into the S&P 500. I'm using that money. I'm purchasing either VOO, SCHX, or FXAIX. Or you can decide to do the total stock market, VTI, SCHB, or FZROX. Again, don't get too caught up on the symbols. Just know that these are just representations of stocks that you can buy, okay? So what you're gonna do is, after you've bought that, let's see what's gonna happen after you've invested for a while. So let's say you're like, I don't wanna become a millionaire so many years into the future, decades into the future. Well, if you just did this, just that extra $38 per day, and you maxed out all of your other accounts, well, you could become a millionaire in 15 years. And that's assuming a very conservative 7% return per year. If you happen to get lucky and the S&P 500 goes up by 10% per year, you'll reach it much faster. So hopefully this kind of explains a little bit about the various types of stock accounts that you can open. Hopefully you've been able to understand the order in which to do things. And I hope you'll be able to join me on the next episode, where I'll be going into a little bit more detail about what to invest in terms of, do you want individual stocks or do you want something called the ETF, which is a collection of stocks? And I think that's it for today, my friends. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Feel free to subscribe if you found this to be helpful and you want to be up to date on future videos. Please share this episode with a friend. Happy investing, and let's get financially savvy together.